Hi everyone, Jedediah Thomas, the Mind Master here. So today I wanted to talk about another belief that was shifted for me over the last week or so. I'll talk about, again, the situation that caused it, and I'll talk about kind of the symptoms of how it was showing up in my life, and then I'll talk about how it is now that it's resolved. So this belief the specific wording of the belief and the exact wording is critical for beliefs. Like if you don't have an exact wording, you haven't figured out the belief because it's actually a line of code in your mind and it doesn't change, right? It's just stuck there. And so the belief that I had was I can't X unless I understand or until I understand. Actually, kind of both of those. And the X in many cases was learning, but then in some cases it was doing, it was, I can't this unless I understand. I can't that if I understand, right? So it was another problematic one in terms of the languaging of it because it was starting to tag to multiple things that had nothing to do with the original incident. So the original incident, I was in elementary school. I don't recall exactly what grade I was in, fourth or fifth, I think. But we had like, I don't know if it was an IQ test or it was like an aptitude test or some kind of test along those lines, basically. And so we had, someone come in and administer it, and then everyone got their own test and whatnot. And you had a certain amount of time to do it. And I I thought I was going to do well on it, because I was, straight A student, have been my whole life basically. And then the first thing I saw when we flipped the test over was there was a question about, okay, something, something, something respectively. Like, and I had no idea what respectively meant. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll skip that question, right? And then I looked ahead of the test and like every question had respectively. I had no clue what it meant. I had never seen that word before, and I couldn't fill out any of the test at all. Like other kids that were, not even half as smart as me were flying through it. I'm just like on total lockdown. And so it wasn't necessarily traumatic per se, in the sense that like, it didn't feel like it was threatening my survival. It wasn't that emotional because no one was judging me or anything like that. But it created this belief. Well, I can't, you know, understand basically until I understand, right? I can't learn how to do this thing until I understand. I can't do this test until I understand. Right. So that's where it got created. And then it started to become very, very problematic throughout my life as I got older. So I had mentioned in another video the other day about the new diagnostic model that in college, like my mind was on such a lockdown that um, I would read like I would set aside 3 hours to study. And then after the end of the 3 hours, I would realize I was reading the same sentence the entire time. And it was because of this belief that that was happening. It was like um, I couldn't move forward until I understood what I was reading, and I didn't understand what I was reading, basically, right? Because I didn't have enough context. And so it was massively affecting my ability to read, to learn, um, even to do things, right? So there's this idea of like perfectionism, like you have to have everything perfect in order to be done with it. Well, I had kind of like a similar but opposite problem. Like I couldn't even start on stuff until I like fully understood the big picture. And I mean, in some senses, that's not terrible because, I'm a big picture thinker in general, right? I prefer to have the big picture to understand how everything fits together. That's just how I think. But where it was an issue is where I could not move forwards until I understood the big picture, right? So for years, I was trying to learn, marketing and sales and all of this stuff. And I probably know more than most people, but I didn't fully understand it. So then like it was difficult for me to implement different things. And so like my ability to learn was directly influenced by my ability to understand, which you would think that's not really logical, and it's not, because in general you have to learn in order to understand. But my mind just could not do that, right? So my advancements in sales never came about from actually doing sales. It was from learning about sales, right? And if anyone is interested, I have, resources to recommend on that that are really good. But um like so I was in sales for, I've been in sales what, 13, 14 years. For the first 8 years I was in sales, I was terrible. I was doing everything that the managers told me to do. I was doing the reps, knocking on doors or calls or, whatever it was that was the thing. And I never got better. In fact, I probably got worse because I didn't have that understanding. Like I couldn't learn from doing because of this belief. I had to learn from learning. And it wasn't until I read a book that like totally transformed my sales game, because then I finally understood it, and then everything made sense. But before that, like I could have been in sales 100 years. I never would have learned how to sell on my own without that outside input. And it was because I just could not learn from doing. It was I can't learn, right, until I understand exactly what that belief was. So that means I couldn't learn by doing. Um, Let me see, what other areas was it affecting me? Yeah, it was probably like one of the contributing factors, like learning new things in general. So there was like a couple weeks ago, actually, how I got onto fixing this was I was trying to learn AI, how to use AI and work with that and do all the prompts and whatnot. And like they went a little too fast, and my brain just like totally locked down. Like I couldn't learn anything. Then like overwhelm came over me and all this stuff. And it was impossible to actually follow along what they're doing because I didn't understand. And that's been a major issue for me throughout my life. So now that it's fixed, this is one of the couple that I think was the first couple that we fixed over like the last week or two. And it's night and day different. So if you recall on the other video that I did, the new diagnostic document, or new diagnostic model. So I was saying that my mind was recording in snapshots, right? So it would record for a couple seconds, then it would process that snapshot, and then it would take another snapshot, and then it would process it. So I had a lag time, like in real life, right? Like you think your internet is slow. My mind was slow because it was trying to process. I couldn't learn until I understood. So the only way for me to understand was to process that snapshot and then understand that snapshot, and then I could learn. So it was like even playing video games was really difficult for me. One of my favorite video games is Ghost Recon Wildlands, and because of the action, the pace of the action, like my mind couldn't keep up to it, and so I was kind of using my drone to snipe guys, but I was never actually in the action myself. Anytime I got in a firefight, I'd be dead immediately. But because his belief is fixed, like now I'm actually able to go in and shoot people myself. I can clear out a whole camp myself now. Before it was impossible for me to do that. So like my processing power is now more like a video recorder as opposed to snapshot. So it's complete night and day difference. Now I can actually read, right? And it's very different than it was before. Like I'm actually able to understand the stuff that I read now. It's crazy. And now I'm able to do stuff without, feeling like I understand it. I can just jump in and do stuff. So my productivity is up, my ability to learn is up, my ability to process cognitively is massively up. My mental load just dropped immediately. Like it was very exhausting having to go through those snapshots, like I was talking about. Like just the mental load of trying to go through life was ridiculous. Like I was always exhausted, and um it was not good. So that's fixed now. Like it's completely different. Like you can't even understand what it's like until you experience the difference, right? It's like whatever you think is your problem, it probably is a problem, but once it's gone, it's like, wow, I never had that problem, right? And it's ridiculous. So without, you know, keeping track of everything, without, noting everything, I wouldn't even know that I had ever had a problem. Like that's how powerful it is when we do a belief shift. So this is the second of these videos. There might be 3 or 4 of them. There's a couple other beliefs that were massively affecting me. Um, but if you want to learn more about them, there's another video about this. There's the new diagnostic model. So I learned some new stuff about the mind, which is really awesome, and it's way more advanced than anyone else even has a clue of. So, hop on the channel, like and subscribe. If you want to join me in my free Facebook group, click the link below. Definitely answer the questions and I'll let you in. And then there's free resources in there. You can get in touch with me. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video on the channel. All right. Bye.